Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jack, coach of the We Nat Chihuahua Vets, bringing you the LSBA Season 4 draft breakdown. Here, I'm going to kind of go over the Pokemon I drafted. As you guys know, I have made some preseason trades after the draft. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the 11 Mons I originally drafted, kind of go into what I was thinking while both before and going into the draft. And then I'm going to go over the Mons that I have since traded, kind of explain my thinking from there. So the first Pokemon I quote unquote drafted is my MVP Manaphy. So at the end of last season, I was telling myself Season 7's coming up, or Generation 7's coming up. I'm not going to make an MVP because there's going to be a lot of really sick pokes out there that I'm going to want to try out. However, going into the season, there weren't a whole lot of Generation 7 Pokemon that I really, really wanted. And the couple Pokemon that I would want were most likely going to be drafted before I got a chance to get at them, since I was the second to last coach in the draft. Excuse me. I decided to MVP Manaphy. It did such great work last season. I absolutely love this Pokemon. It's a mon that coaches have to prep for. They have to make sure they have at least 2 counters for it, if not more, going into team prep. I just love having this mon on my team. It's a great all-around bulky water type, setup sweeper, etc. You guys know what this thing does. It is absolutely a monster. So as for the rest of my draft, going into the draft, I knew what 11 Pokemon I wanted and when I was going to draft them. I knew which Pokemon I was going to be drafting in which slot. And for the most part, I was pretty confident that I was going to get all of the Pokemon that I wanted. And except for one, I believe I got every Pokemon that I wanted going into the draft. I will get to that, the one I missed out on when we get to that, but I knew exactly what I wanted to draft and when I wanted it. So, like I said, I was towards the end of the draft. So my first pick came around. Of course, that counted as Manaphy because it was reserved. So then Alex got to pick his 2 Mons, or 1 Mon because he did MVP Mega Charizard. And then it came back to me, and I knew my first real pick was going to be Infernape. I knew absolutely that I wanted Infernape going into the season. It's super fast, super versatile, has a huge move pool, a lot of moves to choose from, has the ability to set up both on the physical and special side, can run Life Orb, very good Choice Scarf user, very good U-turner. It gives me access to Stealth Rocks, so it's a great suicide lead with Stealth Rock Taunt and other utility moves. So I knew I wanted Infernape. On the off chance that I didn't get Infernape, I was going to go with Salamence instead. For the same reasons. It's a pretty versatile mon, hits really hard, able to set up sweep, and stuff like that, but I'm super glad that I got Infernape. So my next pick, this was really the only mon that I was really worried I wasn't going to get, because I know it's a super popular Pokemon in the coaches, in the LSBA. I knew it always goes super early, so I wanted to pick it up on my third pick. Excuse me. And that is Zapdos. By the way, in case you guys haven't noticed, up here are the nicknames for all my Pokemon. So the Zapdos is named Jupiter, because Jupiter is the equivalent of Zeus on the Greek or the Roman side, excuse me. And then my nickname for Infernape is Jack. Not me, I named the monkey Jack. But yeah, so if you guys are interested, those are the nicknames up here. I really wanted Zapdos for 2 things. It gives me an electric type, a Volt Switcher, which paired with Infernape with the U-turn gives me a really nice Volt Turn core. It gives me a Defogger, which I really wanted. Above all things going into a draft, hazard removal is my absolute priority, if not my second priority going into the draft. I hate hazards on my side of the field, especially hate spikes. So having this Zapdos that is immune to spikes and toxic spikes and able to defog them away was very important to me. I really needed that going into this draft. I'm really glad I picked it up. I was really worried it wasn't going to get back to me because, like I said, I am at the end. So basically, I drafted an Infernape, and then it was something like 28 picks between when I got Infernape and when I got Zapdos. So I was really hoping I got it. I did get it, and I was super happy about that. My next pick, I knew what I wanted. However, I did have a good backup pick in case I didn't get it, and that is Nidoking. I was kind of worried that I wasn't going to get that either, because I know that Nidoking is also a relatively popular mon, a great wall breaker. But if I didn't get it, I was going to pick up Nidoqueen instead. Practically the same mon, if a bit slower, but it is a bit more bulkier. However, that was not an issue. I was able to get Nidoking. Super happy about it. I really wanted it going in. Really good wall breaker with sheer force. Great move pool. Generally run special, but I may bring physical Nidoking every once in a while. It gives me another Stealth Rocker if I decide to bring Stealth Rock Nidoking, although I don't actually see myself ever bringing Stealth Rock Nidoking just because it's not generally what the mod is used for. Really glad I got this pick. Yeah. So again, there was 28 picks between Nidoking and my next pick. My next pick may not be quote unquote a round 5 pick. It could have been better saved until round 7 or 8 maybe. But my next pick was Dhelmise. So like I said earlier with Zapdos, hazard removal is my top priority going into draft format. And of course, Dhelmise is a Gen 7 Rapid Spinner, really great bulk, base 100 defense, 90 special defense, makes a good Sulfest user since Rapid Spin is technically an attacking move. As you guys see here, it does not have a nickname, so I did eventually give it away. I'll go into my thinking about why I gave it away later on when I get to the mon that I traded it for. However, I was really hoping to get Dhelmise. I was thinking Komala instead of Dhelmise. Again, another Gen 7 Rapid Spinner with a great ability in Comatose, can't get burned or toxic or anything like that, and it does get Recovery and Wish. However, I decided to go with Dhelmise because it does complete my Fire, Water, Grass core and Manaphy, Infernape, and then Dhelmise. And it also gives me a Ghost type, which is acts as a spin blocker in case I want to keep my own hazards up. And it does have a really respectable base 131 attack stat. So I know it was a bit early to pick up Dhelmise, but I really wanted a good Rapid Spinner on my team and a Gen 7 poke as well. So my next pick came right after Alex made his 2, and that is Mega Sharpedo. So Sharpedo got Mega Sharpedo, I should say, got a huge buff in Gen 7 with both the overall Mega Evolution buff, where you get your speed boost immediately upon Mega Evolving instead of prior on the turn you Mega Evolve, you keep the speed of your original base form. So it got a bit of a boost there. It also got a boost. Dark types got a boost, and that they're immune to Prankster boost. So like Prankster T-Wave, I'm not afraid of it all or anything. But the main reason I picked it up was Psychic Fangs. Last season, I feel like half the coaches always brought screens against me, and it ended up hurting me a lot. And so I really wanted either a good Brick Break or a good Psychic Fang user. I think there are only 2 Pokemon that get Psychic Fangs, and that is Bruxish and then of course Sharpedo. Psychic Fangs was the main reason I picked it up, but I also got it because this season, since we did allow you don't have to Mega Evolve first turn, I'm able to get the Protect off, get that speed boost, and then Mega Evolve, and then I'm a super fast threat that hits like a truck with Strong Draw, Crunch, Fangs, Psychic Fangs, and stuff like that. As you of course see, I did eventually give it away because it does not have a nickname. But yeah, I'll get to that in a sec. 1 second while I switch right here. So my next pick, this is the time I didn't get what I wanted. My next pick, I was really hoping for Noivern. I really wanted something that was super fast, relatively one-dimensional Noivern, but I just really wanted some speed on my team. As of yet, Infernape was the fastest mon on my team with 108, which is pretty fast, however easily outsped by some other mons, a lot of flying types and stuff like that. So I really wanted Noivern to give my team that extra speed. However, it did end up getting picked just a couple slots before mine. I think Rodney picked it up just like 3 slots before I would have gotten a chance to pick it up myself. So I unfortunately did not get it. However, I did notice that this beauty right here was just waiting to be grabbed. Mew. I am somewhat disappointed that I wasn't able to pick up Noivern. However, I am so glad that I was able to pick up this mon. Mew was not originally on my choices. If I had picked up Noivern, chances are I would not have picked up Mew. And I'm super glad that I did because it's just a mon that is so good in the draft format, able to run at a variety of sets. Basically anything your mind can think of, Mew can do. It gives me another defogger in case I don't want to have Zapdos always be my defogger if I want to bring a static Zapdos or if I just don't want to bring it at all. Also, Dhelmise, I don't have to rely on that for Rapid Spin. It gives me a good defogger. It gives me a Baton Passer, able to set up stuff like Swords Dance's Nasty Plots, and Baton Pass into another Mon, maybe Nidoking, pass a Nasty Plot into Nidoking, which could be super nasty. I'm just super glad I got Mew. It's definitely going to be a huge staple of my team, and I'm glad I was able to pick it up. My next Mon, so obviously I don't have a nickname here. However, I'm not able to name legendaries such as Mew or Manaphy, unfortunately. So this does not mean that I still do have the Mew. I did not trade it away. I'm just not allowed to nickname Mon such as Mew or Manaphy. So now that my next Mon is the Aromatisse. This goes in conjunction with my next pick as well, so I should probably tell you that. My next pick was Doublade, another staple from last year. Doublade was one of the Mons on my team that just had a 100% win record, so basically when I brought Doublade, I won. So I really wanted it again this year. Fantastic Mon, I'm super comfortable with using it. Great EVO Light, super bulky, priority and Shadow Sneak. It's fairly one-dimensional. You can run it a bit more offensive rather than defensive. However, basically I'm going to be bringing EVO Light Doublade whenever I have it. But then why I picked Aromatisse before that is because Doublade is so bulky, but it has no access to recovery outside of Rest, and I don't think I'll ever bring Rest Doublade. So I wanted a nice cleric that can pass wishes to it, because this thing is just walls so many things so well. Unfortunately, it does get chipped down over time. So I really wanted a nice cleric that can consistently pass wishes to Doublade, keep it nice and healthy, keep it from being, burned, stuff like that. And I know there are other clerics out there. However, I also wanted a good fairy type to round out my Steel Dragon Fairy core that you're going to see in a second. But yeah, I just wanted to draft these two mons together because I feel like they could have, these two as a defensive core could put in a lot of work. Of course, you guys don't see a nickname here, and that is because I did eventually give it away. But that was my thinking going into drafting Aromatisse. My next pick was Druddigon. Again, you guys don't see a nickname. I have done a plethora of preseason trading, taking advantage of those unlimited trades. But the reason I drafted Druddigon was, like I mentioned before, to round out my Steel Fairy Dragon core. Super versatile mon with three really great abilities. Rough Skin if I want to make Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet, bulky Druddigon. Sheer Force if I really wanted to put in some like wall breaking just power. And then Mold Breaker because Levitate Earthquake. If I want to set up Stealth Rocks, I don't have to worry about Magic Bounce, bringing them back, stuff like that. I was looking forward to bringing Druddigon. A really nice pick, pretty bulky. 120 attack is nothing to scoff at. A little slow for me, but I was really looking forward to using this. Unfortunately, I did eventually give it away. I am pretty happy with the mon I traded it away for, but a little unfortunate that I didn't get to use it this season. And then my last pick is Simon. This has a little frowny face because I didn't keep it for long. I did eventually give it away. But my last pick was Chestnut because, as you know, I just love this Pokemon so much. Did put in a lot of work. I think it was second in my kill list last season. Just really great, super bulky. I was really sad when I had to give it away, but it just didn't quite fit my team the way I wanted it to. And a little sad that I had to give it away. It was an 11th slot. Like I didn't really think I needed something else to round out my team. At least initially, of course, I did eventually when I traded it away. But at the last slot in my team, I didn't really feel like I needed anything else, so I just kind of drafted this for funsies as kind of a throwback. But I did eventually give it away pretty soon. So yeah, those are my original 11 pokes directly after the draft. Honestly, I could have gone into the main season uh, and not traded anything away and been totally fine with the 11 pokes that I originally had. However, I did have some free time. I was kind of pre-prepping going into the season since we did have such a long preseason between the draft time and week one. And like I said, I was pretty satisfied with the draft. I got 10 of the 11 mons that I wanted. However, when I was doing some pre-peppering, I noticed some holes, decided some mons that were in the free agency pool might be better than the ones I already had, and stuff like that. So I didn't make some trades. That's not because I felt like the trades I were making were better for my team per se. It's just that with some of the matchups I have going into the LSBA, I felt some mons rounded out my team better in preparation for certain situations than the mons I traded them for. So now let's go into the 5 mons that I have laid out. The first one I traded away was Drudagon in favor of Tyrantrum. So these are relatively similar mons. Tyrantrum is definitely a bit of a more like one-dimensional mon. I'm not going to be running like more defensive. Basically, when I'm bringing Tyrantrum, it's going to be Choiced or Dragon Dance. Basically, it is definitely more one-dimensional. It's not like Drudagon where I can choose to run Rough Rocky Helmet or a more offensive variant. But the reason I brought this was basically 2 reasons: Victini and Mega Pinsir. I believe the Skirk has Victini on his team, which could otherwise just put in a lot of work against my team. Blue Flare just wrecks through my team. And although Drudagon handles it fairly well, it does resist the Blue Flare. It does, like, it's only resisted, and its Blue Flare is a super hard-hitting move, so I can't take too many of those. So I decided to go for Drudagon because it does resist Blue Flare / V-Create ×4. So it will get chipped down much slower than Drudagon would. And then also because of Mega Pinsir could also wreck through my team, and I wanted a good flying resist outside of Zapdos just to make sure I had an extra check to that. Of course, Chad did eventually trade away Mega Pinsir for Mega Medicham, which ironically Drudagon would have fared against Mega Medicham better than Tyrantrum would. However, I do feel really comfortable with this pick. Tyrantrum, I've been looking at it in my matchups, and it does just a lot of work against a lot of the matchups. I'm really happy with Tyrantrum. Like I said earlier, I would have been fine going into the season with Drudagon. However, I'm pretty excited to be using Tyrantrum this season. Nickname Concussions because basically it's only going to be hitting one move, and that's Head Smash. Like, maybe every once in a while I'll hit a Dragon Dance, but generally I'm going to be hitting Head Smash, and of course, concussions are going to be coming our way. So the next month I traded away, I gave away my Chestnut. It hurt me so hard to give this away. I really didn't want to give away Chestnut. It is my baby. However, like I said, it was just like an 11th pick. It was just like a last-ditch kind of fun throwback. And looking at my preparations, my team matchups going into the season, I am super, super Rain Dance week, or Rain in general week. And of course, someone in my division, Rodney, has a pure Rain team. He has both Politoed and Pelipper with Rain abusers out the wazoo. And I really needed something to counter that, so I picked up Licky Licky here. Licky Licky, of course, does get the Cloud 9 ability, able to counter those weather abusers really well. Super bulky. It gives me another cleric to Wish Pass, arguably a better cleric than Aromatisse, although Aromatisse does have arguably the better ability. But I'm super happy with Licky Licky. Like I said, I have been going into pre-prepping for the season, and the more I look at Licky, the more I am just absolutely loving it. It is so bulky. It can take hits for days and days. A normal type cleric is super good because it, of course, only has that one weakness in fighting, which then Doublade is immune to, of course. So those two together, similar to Doublade and Aromatisse, just match up so well. And I'm really happy I picked up this Mon. A little bit passive. However, I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, like I am just so glad that I picked up this Mon right here. So my next Mon I traded away. I did trade away the Aromatisse for Shaman. So my thinking here is I really wanted a Healing Wish user. Like, I absolutely wanted a Healing Wish user because I have Mons like Nidoking, like Manaphy, Zapdos a little bit, Infernape. A lot of Mons that do so well, but also take chip damage over time. And although Wish support is nice, sometimes you just really need to give that Mon a fresh start, and that's what Healing Wish does. And although I did lose out on a Wish Passer by trading Aromatisse away, I'm really glad I got Shaman. It gives me another bulky grass type in case I didn't want to bring Delmise at all. Natural Cure allows me to have a status absorber if I'm fearing a Will-O-Wisp or a Toxic. I can switch in and then switch out, get rid of that status. I don't have to worry about that at all. Really great Pokemon. A little less versatile than like Mew for the base 100s, but it still gives me a variety of options, more bulky, or I can go more offensive with like Assault Vest or even Choice Spec. Seed Flare hits like a truck. Another thing that gives me, before I took in Shaman, my team was having a lot of trouble against ground types, I noticed. Ground types gave me a nice bulky ground type, just kind of walled my entire team. So that's another thing Shaman gave me, is another way to break through those ground types. So like I said, I was kind of missing a Wish supporter, and I actually heavily considered drafting Mega Audino specifically for that, because Mega Audino both gets Wish as well as Healing Wish. So it would have been a nice neutral play. However, that would have meant dropping Mega Sharpedo. And I really didn't want to lose out on that Mega. That gave me a lot of power. And I felt like Audino satisfied much the same role that Licky did, kind of a bulky, normal/fairy type, Wish, kind of more of a Stallimon, and I didn't need two of those on the same team, and I was not willing to get rid of Licky in favor of Audino. So I did go with Shaman. It was a nice neutral play. I may eventually wish that I had an extra Wish Passer, but we'll get to that if we get to that. So my next pick, the Mon I traded in for, was Swellow. So, like I said, I was doing a lot of pre-prepping, and I wanted to get used to some of the Mons on my team, because a lot of these Mons I had never used before. So I was playing on the UU ladder because a lot of my Mons are in the UU tier. And I was messing around with Mega Sharpedo, and it just wasn't doing it for me. I know it's a great Mon if used in the right hands. It's super powerful, super fast. But for some reason for me, similar to Mega Absol last season, it just wasn't doing the job that I wanted it to. It just was super underwhelming for me. I just couldn't get the hang of using it, so I decided to switch it out for Swellow. The nickname you notice here is Marshadow 0.5, because I did originally want to trade Sharpedo for Marshadow, but we decided to ban it this season. A little disappointing, but I am super glad I picked up this Mon. Like I said, I was kind of teetering on the UU. After I traded Sharpedo for this, I started using Swellow, and Swellow is just such a beast. With the boost it got this generation, 75's base special attack may not seem like much, but Choice Spec's Boomburst just wrecks shop if you don't have a good switch into it. And for the most part, the only good switch-ins to Choice Spec's Boomburst, because of its ability in Scrappy, are Steel types and Rock types. However, generally, for the most part, steel types and rock types don't have access to reliable recovery. So even if they can switch in on a couple, they will start to get worn down over time. And once those things are low enough, Swellow can just like sweep an entire person's team. I'm super happy I picked this up. It patches up the speed that I kind of wanted with Noivern that I didn't get. Base 125 is super fast. Outspeeds a lot of mons. Unfortunately, it does get outsped by some other mons that I do have to face eventually this season, such as a Jolteon, like a Crobat. I believe I might have to face a Mega Aerodactyl. No, I don't have to face a Mega Aerodactyl. But it does get outsped by some stuff, and of course by Choice Scarf users. It is super frail. It like doesn't take any hit unless it's a weak, not very effective move. But it just has the potential to clean shop through someone's team. Options to run both physical and special with Guts and Scrappy. I'm really happy I picked this up. I'm hoping it gets a lot of kills. Hey, sorry about that, guys. So like I was saying, I did trade Swellow in for the Mega Sharpedo. I do feel much more comfortable with this mon. I know that's kind of weird because they're kind of the same mons, just fast, frail, hard hitters. But for some reason, I just Swellow just feels a lot better in my hands than Sharpedo did. I'm really happy that I picked up this mon. So now that I dropped my Mega Sharpedo, I do have an open Mega slot. And like you guys saw earlier, I did eventually trade in my Dhelmise in for that Mega Sharpedo, or Mega Blastoise, sorry. So I was kind of looking at Dhelmise over in the matchups against other teams, and it didn't look too impressive to me. Yeah, it's a hard hitter, has great attack stat. However, when I was the few matchups that I did feel like bringing it, I was kind of bringing it more up as a bulky mon, more like Assault Vest or lefties and stuff. And I felt like that was really wasted with something that was so powerful, base 131 attack stat, and has a really good move pool. And I realized that even though it's a really good mon, I'm not very comfortable with it just because I don't know what to do with it. So I decided to trade it in for Mega Blastoise because this is a mon that I'm very comfortable with. I'm familiar with it. It was like one of the very first Megas that I've ever used competitively. It doesn't lose me a Rapid Spinner. I still have access to Rapid Spin. A great ability with the moves to be able to take advantage of that ability. Super bulky. It gives me another check to fire types, which I was starting to have a little trouble with as well, especially with that Charizard X that I do have to face around the middle of the season. I'm just super happy I picked this up. I could have gone in with Dhelmise, but I just feel much more comfortable with Mega Blastoise. Nice and bulky, and bulky water especially. Those are always super nice to have. Rapid Spinner, yeah. So that is my 11 mons right now. So overall, I do still have the Manaphy, Infernape, Zapdos, and Nidoking. And then instead of Dhelmise, I now have Mega Blastoise, Swellow, Shaman, Doublade, the Tyrantrum, and the Lickilicky. I'm super happy with this team. Like I said, I could have gone into the main season with the original 11 mons I had and been, for the most part, totally fine. However, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was able to pick out some mons that fit my team just a little bit better than what I originally had. Gave me a slightly better matchup against some of the people I have to fight in the main season. And I am just so excited to get Season 4 started. Super excited to be able to start using the mons that I have. And thank you very much for sticking with me. And I look forward to next week being able to face Rasha for week 1 of Season 4.